Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of A2O Outdoors. A little DIY section today. I know it looks like we're on a tailgate, kind of are, but it's not a tailgate talk, it's DIY today. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about making an Amsteel aider for you saddle hunters out there. Let me first of all put this disclaimer out there. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm an amateur, maybe even less than an amateur. I'm just a YouTube pro like the rest of you guys watching this video. So if you start adding aiders to your climbing sticks, climbing steps, climbing methods, it may void warranties. I'm not to be held liable. This is just an idea that's worked for me. I've never been hurt yet. Knock on wood. Doesn't mean that I might not fall tomorrow. So with everything that I tell you guys, research it for yourself, do your own homework. But this is a pretty cool method, so stick around with me. Our end goal today is a 3-step aider that I use personally with my Hawk helium sticks for whenever I'm saddle hunting. So what are you guys going to need? You're going to need some 1/4-inch Amsteel. Some 3/8 gas line is what I use to go over that 1/4-inch Amsteel. Kind of makes a little bit of a stirrup or a little boot step, if you will. You're going to need some fids. I've got 2, 3 here. You're going to need a really sharp knife. Electrical tape tends to make everything a little bit easier. You'll see why here in just a minute. What else? Tape measure. Maybe a notepad and a pen if you guys need to do some figuring or something. And then I've got a pair of vice grips just in case something gets stubborn. Vice grips are super handy. So what I did to go ahead and speed this up, I'm making a 3-step aider, which basically means I'm going to have 3 of these right here. And then I'm going to chain all of them together, essentially, and then finish it out with a loop that I hook to my button on my Hawk helium sticks. So to speed this up, I've made 1. I've made 2. This one doesn't have any gas line on it because I ran out of gas line. I think I can still make it work. Set those 2 to the side. And essentially I'm going to make a 3rd one out of 70 inches of Amsteel right here. And then I'm going to make basically a gusset piece that ties it all together out of 60 inches of Amsteel right here. I've already cut them. And I'll kind of go through some of my figurings as we go. But first things first, let's get on this 70-inch stirrup. 70 total inches. I do a 10-inch bury. Not saying that's scientifically proven one way or another. Do your own homework on that. I do a 10-inch bury because it makes math easy. So 10 inches is here on the tape measure. Kind of remember that spot. And then typically I go another 4 inches, so we'll go to 14 inches because my loop at the top needs to be about that size. Does that look like 4 inches? No, it doesn't, but trust me on that. So I grab it at the 10, grab it at the 4, 14. I'm going to go down here, I'm going to fluff up my Amsteel at 14. I'm going to use this fid. I'm going to go through. Take this fid that I have a love-hate relationship with. Feed that tag in down through there. Pull that dude through, pull the fid off. So now I got a loop. Let me stop for just a second and give a shout out here. This fid is DIY, custom. This material here, I don't know what to call it. Whenever I made it, the YouTube video that I used called it Chinese finger trap material. That's a pretty good explanation. If you guys want to learn how to make one of these, go to G2 Outdoors. Greg does an awesome job of showing you how to make one of these, and not gonna lie, works super well, especially for the berry. You'll see that here in just a minute. But in his video, he links the knitting needle itself. He also links this Chinese finger trap material I can't remember what it's called. Buy them both on Amazon, super cheap. Alright, back to where we were. So now we have made our first pass through for our loop. I'm going to go back to my tape measure, measure out 10 inches from the tag end, fluff that dude up, run my fid through, and now I'm going to take my long end, lead end if that's what you want to call it, run it into this Chinese finger trap material, get a good set, pull that dude through, pull my fid off, and pull all the way. So at this point, after I tighten up, I have a locked Brummel, and that's not going anywhere. So now what do? Well, it's time to make this dude disappear. So I pull that tight. You guys see that I have electrical tape on everything. It's just because it keeps it all nice and tight and neat. But since we're going to bury, I'm pulling that off. I'm going to go grab this little knitting needle here. This is also a trick I learned from Greg over at G2. I come up about 1.5 inches or 2 inches from the end, and I pull one strand of Amsteel out. Flip my rope 180, pull another one. Come up another 2 to 3 inches, fluff it up a little bit, pull another one. As you can see, when I pulled that one, pulled one of these out that I'd already pulled out down here. So go down here, grab another one. Come up here, grab another one. That wasn't supposed to happen. Alright, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pulled out. Come up about halfway again to my locked Brummel. Pull another one all the way out. And of course, I chose the lucky strand again, so come down here. So I've got 1, 2, I've got 3, 4, and I got 5. So what's the importance of that? Basically, that's just going to allow my rope, my Amsteel, to taper as it goes down, and it really allows the lock here, the bury here, excuse me, to cinch and lock down super good. So I got to cut all that off. Grab my rope, or excuse me, grab my knife, come up here, bam. Throw that to the side, grab this one, bam. Repeat the process. A little bit tedious, this part, but you'll see it makes a difference here in just a minute. Alright, so I got all those cut off. Go down here, tighten it out, and you can see it kind of tapers off like a tail. So now we're ready to bury at this point. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, get my tape measure back out. And this thing should be right at 10 inches long, pretty close. So I'm going to come down on my main line 10 inches, and I'm going to leave a little extra. So I'm going to come down another, I don't know, 2 to 3 inches. Fluff it up down there where I think it'll get to, which is about 12 inches or so down. Then come back up here, go to where I'm going to enter in, fluff it up as well. Now, insert this homemade fid, and I've got to sink that dude all the way down. This should be easy. If you're having to force it, you're not right. Step back and punt for a minute. So I've got it all the way through. Got it where I want it. Pull the end of your Chinese finger trap material out a little bit. Take the end of your tag in, somehow, some way get it down in there. This is difficult. If anybody knows a good trick here, please leave a comment. This is probably one of the more difficult parts. Keep burying it, keep burying it, keep burying it. Alright, so I've got a pretty good hold on it. I'm going to take this dude, I'm going to pull it through, all the way through. So now it's all the way through. I'm going to pull it good and tight, like such. Now I'm going to milk it down. And there you go. You got a loop and you've got a buried tag in. We're halfway done. At this point, don't forget, you need to put your gas tube on. And this is going to be difficult too. Of course, nothing can be easy. So I'm going to use my fid to cheat a little bit. Sometimes they'll slide right through, sometimes they won't. But we've got a hack for that. Alright, so vice grips make everything easier, right? Pull that dude through. Pull my fid off. Now I've got a loop at one end and my boot stirrup. I'm going to push it all the way, kind of get it locked away to the side. Now for the other side, you're just repeating the step for the first one. So I'm going to go to 14 inches. I'm going to fluff it up. I'll run my fid through. Make sure it's nice and smooth. I'm going to bury it down into my material. I'm going to pull it through. Easy so far. Alright, now's where a little bit of the fun part comes in. On the last one, man, he's wearing it out. On the last one, alright guys, for the next step, this one's probably the most difficult step. We know that we only need 10 inches left in our tag end. So what I'm going to do here is, I've made my loop, right? I'm going to tighten this dude down, okay? And then I'm going to wrap it with some electrical tape because it's going to make life easier here in a few minutes, and you'll understand why. So I wrap it and then I bring it on out a little bit. And I leave a little bit of a tail, and you'll see why here in just a second. So then I go to about the 10-inch mark, and I'm going to fluff this up. And you need to fluff it up really good because you're about to put this entire loop through this piece of the Amsteel. So at this point, I take this bigger fid. It's not bigger in diameter, but it's longer. And I really work the inside of that Amsteel rope. Let me get one more. There we go. Try to split it. Try to split it evenly. Really work that with your fingers. Be aggressive with it. And then you want to run this loop through that hole you just created. Like I said, sometimes if it gets ornery, you can grab that tail with a piece of vice grips, or with a pair of vice grips, and you're cooking again. So at this point, I've got a loop here that's covered in tape, and I'm through right here. So what I need to do now is I need to push this tail back through this hole. Push this tail of my tag end back through this hole. When I do that, it's going to create like a reversed locked brummel. So I'm going to milk this again, kind of get it opened up, take my tag, push through, pull through, and it kind of flips. It flips that knot. It flips everything. Now I want to rip this tape off to make sure I did it right. It takes a second, but you'll see here in just a second. And at this point, we now again have a locked Brummel. It's not as pretty as the other side, but it's just as effective. Now you repeat the same berry steps as I did on the first one, and I'll do that now. Alright guys, so as you can see, that is finished product. That is a 70-inch piece of Amsteel, 10-inch berries, 4-inch loops, and it equals about a 17-inch step, roughly. Of course, you know it's going to flex a little bit, so depending on how wide your foot is and how much flex there is, that could vary, but it's between 17 and 18 inches, which is pretty good. 17 inches is what my Hawk heliums are, so I tried to kind of duplicate that step. So that's 3 done. Next, I'm going to make the loop. You guys stay tuned for that. All right, guys. So last part of this, I'm going to make basically a triangular piece to hold it all together. If you guys haven't seen the saddle dump video that we're going to put out, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but you'll know here in just a second. What I'm doing is I have 60 inches of Amsteel. I've already cut it. That's going to allow for an 8-inch bottom section that we're going to hook into with our step sections. It's going to allow for a 10-inch side, triangular side. It's going to be a triangular piece. It's going to allow for a 4-inch loop on one side to kind of tie into itself, and it's going to allow for roughly a 6-inch loop that actually goes over the Versa button that's on the Hawk stick, with roughly a 10-inch berry per side. I think my math is right. Check me on that. It worked the first time. So here we go. First I'm going to start with the 6-inch loop. That's the easiest way to start this deal. So, pull down to 0, go to 10, go to 16. Fluff it up at 16. Now, just like in the last video, take your tag in through the long end. Alright, so that's done. Now, we're going to go back to the 10, fluff it up, go through with our fid, make sure it's good and clean. You don't want to be splitting pieces of this rope. You want a good, clean, solid pull. Grab your long end. and then feed. Pull that through. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, you have a locked Brummel that looks like that will go over my Versa button on my Hawk Helium sticks. A snug fit, but it will work. I don't want it loose. Alright, now I'm going to bury this, just like I've buried the rest of them. Alright guys, so the 6-inch loop is done. It's buried. Now we're going to make the smaller 4-inch loop on the other side. At that point, we'll have to pause and do a little thinking. It's been a long day. I did that the wrong way. There we go. So 4 inches, I may even go about a 1/2 inch less, just because the smaller that loop is, the better. You guys will see why. Alright, that one's pulled through. Go ahead and take this tape off. Now to lock this one in, just like before, I'm going to find that 10-inch mark, fluff it up a little bit. Well, before we do that, let's get some tape, right? Make our life easier. Fluff it up. Remember, the bigger you can make this, the better it's going to work. So, easier it's going to work. Push that through. Tape and all. I'm going to pull my tape off. Now, I've got my loop here. I've got my knot here. And I need to take this. That's almost a locked Brummel right there. It is. That is a locked Brummel. Alright, now we need to bury once again. So, you guys know the drill. Alright guys, so at this point I've got my last little hanger loop made. Don't make the mistake I made whenever I made my first one. At this point, it's time to link all of these pieces together, and then you close it up by closing this loop. So I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to grab the ones that I've already got made over here. This is going to be my bottom one, the one with no stirrup in it. I'm going to set this one to my side. Take this. You want this to be dead center. I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to fluff this up. I'm going to take this fid, run it through. Excuse me, this needle, run it through. You want to open that hole up as big as possible. The bigger it is, the easier you're going to be able to work. Now you've got to get this loop through that hole. You can tape it, that would make it a little easier, but it's not too bad. Once you get it through, you don't have to pull your knot all the way through, or your bunched up piece. Take this loop, run it through that one that's exposed, and voila, you're linked together, and that dude's not going anywhere. Alright, run my stirrup to this side, fluff up this side. Once again, open that up. The bigger the better. Be aggressive with it, you're not going to break this stuff. Run the end of this loop up and through. I guess I'm done with this tape measure. Get that out of the way. Bam, that one's through. Run the existing through. Cinch down. Alright, now you've got a two-step aider. Let's make it 3. You grab my other piece, find the end, come up here, make sure it's good and even. You can measure this off if you want to be precise. Fluff this up. Alright guys, so at this point I've got my 3-step aider. They're all linked together. Now it's time to close this dude out. So I grabbed the triangular piece that I had. I'm going to kind of let this fall. I know I wanted, gotta grab the right piece. Here we go. I know I wanted 8 inches at the bottom. If you can see, that's about where it is from the end of the berry to the end of the berry. So I'm going to make this easy on myself. I'm going to fluff up right here at the end of the berry. Repeat the steps that I've been doing. Make me a nice, good, open hole. It's going to be stubborn. Grab one end of the aider ladder. This is where a little tape might come in to help. Run that through there. Like I said, may need a little convincing with the vice grips here. Just kind of walk that through there. Give me another bite. Alright, I'm through. Pull my tape off. Run this loop through that loop. That way, now we are chained together on that side. Repeat the process on this side. Okay, now we are all hooked together, fellas and lady fellas. Now I've got to close this dude up. So as you can see, I need to cinch it down somewhere right in here. So how am I going to do that? I'm just going to get creative. I'm actually going to go through this rope here, right here, with this loop. Once I get it through, then I'm just going to run this dude back through it. And so it's all going to tie together just like that. I will say it is very difficult to run through rope that you've also buried through. That is not for the faint of heart, but it will work. Have a little patience. Alright guys, so finished product here. We fast forwarded a little bit through there. As you can see, what I ended up having to do, just because it is extremely difficult to go through the main line that you've already buried through, is I pulled my bury out and spliced through with my loop, and then I buried back down over the top of it. Does that defy some code or safety protocol? Maybe, but I've been doing that with the one that I'm climbing with, and it's working pretty good. So one thing I wish I'd done a little better, I didn't measure quite down far enough on this, so I've got a tag in hanging out, but it'll be okay. It still works. It holds me up. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but definitely effective. That's my 3-step aider that I've been climbing with. Get out there, try it for yourself if you like. If you've got comments, if you've got ways that I can improve on this, drop that in the comments section. Hit a like, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. We're going to keep stuff coming to you guys. Hunting season's right around the corner. It's about time to get out there and do it. So until next time, guys, it's A2O Outdoors. We're checking out. See ya.